All right, let's jump right in. Something really significant is happening in the precious metals market, and honestly, it's flashing some serious warning signs about the entire global economy. This isn't just another market trend, It feels more like a symptom of some really deep stress building up in the system.
And just to give you a sense of the sheer scale we're talking about, look at this number 150%. That's how much silver has exploded in 2025. I mean, that is a massive move. And it's making everyone, from central bankers all the way down to individual investors, sit up and pay very, very close attention.
So that really brings us to the big question for today, right? What on earth is causing this insane surge in both gold and silver? And maybe even more importantly, what does it all mean for the world, for our economy, for the money in our pockets, for our savings? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
Okay, so first things first, let's just look at the raw numbers here. Because what we're seeing is a rally that's not just breaking records, it's setting off alarms in financial markets all across the globe.
And what's so interesting here is that it's really a tale of two different metals. I mean, look, gold is having an absolutely phenomenal year, smashing through all-time highs with a gain of around 75%. But then you look at silver. Wow. It's not just rising, it is massively outperforming gold. This tells us it's not just about one asset, it's a system-wide flight to safety. And this slide really puts some hard numbers on just how high these prices have climbed. Globally, you've got gold pushing $4,500 an ounce. Now think about a key market like India. That's over 1.4 lakh rupees for just 10 grams. And silver? It's sitting in the high 70s in US dollars, and it has blown past 2.3 lakh rupees per kilogram in India. These are not just numbers on a chart, folks. This represents a huge, tangible shift in global wealth. All right, so we've seen the what. Now it's time for the why. Because a surge like this, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It's actually being fueled by what you could call a perfect storm. Three distinct, really powerful forces, all hitting at the exact same time. So let's break down these three key drivers. First up, we've got some deep-seated fears about our money itself, monetary fears. Second, there's this rising tide of geopolitical risk and instability. And third, something really interesting is happening, a classic supply squeeze, especially when it comes to silver. Okay, so driver number one is all about a loss of faith in, well, traditional money. Think about it. When central banks start cutting interest rates aggressively and basically printing more money, people naturally start to worry. They worry that the cash sitting in their bank account is going to be worth less and less over time. It's this deep fear of currency debasement, and it's pushing investors to find a safe harbor in tangible assets, like gold and silver, to protect their wealth. Driver number two, it's basically a crisis of confidence in global stability. I mean, you turn on the news, and it's just a constant stream of headlines about geopolitical tensions, new tariffs, renewed trade war fears. It just feels like the world is becoming a more uncertain place. And in times like these, what do investors do? It's a classic risk-off move. They sell riskier assets, and they run to the historical safety of precious metals. Now for our third driver, and this one is a huge one, especially for silver, a massive supply squeeze. This chart really tells the story. You see, industrial demand for silver is absolutely exploding. Silver isn't just a pretty metal for coins and jewelry, it's a critical, basically irreplaceable component in the technologies that are building our future. We're talking about the green transition. It's in EVs, it's in solar panels. The AI revolution needs it for data centers. The physical supply just cannot keep up with this demand. And when you have that kind of unstoppable demand smashing up against a finite supply, well, prices only have one way to go, and that's. So when you put all three of these drivers together, you've got monetary fears stoking inflation, you've got geopolitical risk slowing down growth, and you have a supply crunch on critical materials. It all starts to point towards a word that makes economists really, really nervous: stagflation. That's that toxic cocktail of a stagnant, slow-growth economy combined with high inflation. And that's why this whole rally is drawing so many comparisons to scary economic times like the stagflationary 1970s and the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis. And this is the crucial point, right? This isn't just some abstract story for Wall Street. These price surges have very real consequences that ripple out across entire industries, national economies, and right down to you and me, to individual households. So let's take a look at what that impact actually looks like. We can pretty much break down these impacts into three main areas.
First, for industries like solar and electronics, their costs are shooting up, which could eventually mean higher prices for all of us. Second, it puts a ton of pressure on major currencies like the US dollar, as central banks start to question their long-term value. And finally, and this is a big one, it's causing huge shifts in how ordinary people think about saving their money. And that household impact, it's really a two-sided coin. On the one hand, if you're someone who already owns gold or silver, congratulations. This rally is a massive boost to your personal wealth. But on the other side, for new buyers, especially in cultures where buying gold for things like weddings and festivals is a huge deal, it's making these essential traditions incredibly expensive. It's creating this transfer of wealth that has some really profound social consequences. Okay, so let's pull this all together. Why does this crazy surge in precious metals matter so much right here, right now? Well, it's because it's sending a crystal clear signal that the strategies of the major global players, we're talking investors, central banks, governments, are changing. And they're changing because of a declining trust in the old way of doing things. So the key takeaways here are pretty clear. For investors, gold and silver are no longer just some fringe bet. They're back as core parts of a balanced portfolio. For central banks, they're actively buying physical gold to diversify away from the US dollar. And that is a huge, huge shift. And all of this puts policymakers in a really tough spot. They can't just keep printing money without consequences anymore, because the market is clearly pushing back. Which leaves us with one crucial final question. Is all of this just a temporary panic, a debasement trade that's going to fade away once things calm down? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a permanent challenge to the US dollar and the entire global financial system as we've known it? The answer to that question, well, it's going to shape our economic future for years, maybe even decades to come.